Hey guys, it's IDW, and today we are back in our Let's Play world. I have a lot to talk about and a lot to do as well. Now, if you remember last time, we were working on these roads, and we got a fair bit done. If we come back along here, we've got this sort of main road that maybe should go a bit closer to the water, but it's fine as it is. Maybe it should be a bit thicker here too. There's all sorts of little minor things that we can change later on. Heads around here. Maybe this corner's a bit sharp. It's going to come around here and head over to the, what's it called, canal over there. Now today I want to basically set up a road system on the other side heading into this bay over here. And yeah, now there's a lot I want to talk about today. As you can see, I've already started doing this, and you've probably also noticed that I haven't actually been mining lately, and that's just because I've been busy with other stuff which we're going to talk about in a second, but yeah, unfortunately we haven't been mining. We're at 28 levels, so we're not going to be able to enchant anything at the start of this episode, which is unfortunate, but we'll live with just one episode of not doing that. And we're starting to get to the point where we really don't need to mine that much more because we have, like, I think we have a stack of gold blocks now, which is pretty insane, but yeah. So today I'm just going to be talking about a whole lot of things, starting with the stuff that you're probably most interested in, which is my redstone stuff. Then I'm going to be talking about also some more interesting redstone stuff that's going to be coming on in the future in Minecraft, because there's another update coming, and there's actually some interesting redstone stuff coming in it. So I want to talk about that for a bit, and then another thing that's coming up is Pokemon Sun and Moon, and I want to give sort of my thoughts on competitive analysis of what I know so far, because there's some really cool stuff that I can't wait to use. Like, day one, I'm probably going to actually go ahead and record myself doing like a showdown live with just some sets I've come up with, because it's going to be, there's a whole bunch of really cool stuff that I'm going to talk about later on today. Oh dear, the sun's going down. But yeah, so let's start with, again, the stuff you're probably most interested in, which is the multiplication program, the floating point multiplication program that I promised to do on our Redstone computer. Now, sorry about that. Anyway, so I guess I'm kind of going to have to restart from where I was, because I kind of lost my train of thought. We were talking about, what's it called? Yes, the division program that I was planning on doing. Well, originally it was supposed to be floating point multiplication. Now, if you guys remember, I did about 2 years ago now. Really? Yeah, I think it was 2 years ago. I did an entire series on multiplication, division, floating point numbers. And so it's pretty logical that now that I actually have a computer that my viewers are confident that, or at least I'm confident that you guys know how it works. I feel like showing how to do a multiplication program, or floating point multiplication program, using the skills that I went over in that, what's it called, in that series. I think that now that I actually have something that you guys can understand, that I can show it off on, that's going to make it much easier for someone who's watching that to maybe understand it. But there is a little problem with that. You guys may remember that back when we made the original simple multiplication problem, it took up almost all of the, what's it called, program memory. This one is going to take like at least 1.5 times as much, and I tried to reduce it as much as I could, and it just wasn't working, no matter what I did. So unfortunately, I am not going to be able to make any sort of floating point multiplication program for that computer, because it's just too simple. there's also some slightly more complex instructions that I could use in that could perhaps help me to help that program out a bit, but those instructions just don't exist in our current computer. So maybe when we do, I've been thinking about for quite some time about doing a 16-bit computer, but I don't really see the point of that because memory pointers are just going to be so hard to deal with because it's so hard to scale up Redstone. But yeah, so that's... Anyway, let's actually get back on track here, shall we? Where was I? Oh yes, so what I decided to do instead was, floating point multiplication might be a bit too hard. Why don't we just try out to just do a simple division problem? I mean, it's probably not going to be that much more complicated than, what's it called, multiplication. And, I was right, and I literally am like 3 or 4 instructions over the limit that will stay in the program memory for that computer. Just like 3 or 4, and I'm super annoyed with it. So I've spent about a month now just trying to work that out, and I don't think I can get it any shorter than the program I currently have. So it's looking like I'm not going to be able to do any operation more complicated than multiplication on that computer. And while multiplication is a really great simple program, it's just unfortunate that we can't do anything more with that computer, because that computer is really about as advanced as you can get with, well, not necessarily as advanced as you can get with Redstone, but and if you don't use something like command blocks to scale up your memory, then there's just no way that you can make much bigger than 8 bits. There are 16-bit computers in existence. Some of them don't use pointers, some of them don't, and you should never not use pointers. I hope at this point, if you understand, if you understand stacks, you should know exactly why. Stacks and subroutines, you should know exactly why you need to have pointers to really make a functional program. So yeah, you can do that if you just reduce the amount of memory you're going to have and then don't use pointers, but it's just going to be really problematic. But anyway, I'm rambling a bit about scaling up in Minecraft because it's really annoying. But yeah, so the final word on that is I'm not going to do division with this program, but what I am going to do is I'm going to do a bit of a continuation off of something I did about a year ago, and that is I made a really basic combination lock that used encryption, and that was pretty cool, and I think that programming it into the computer is actually going to be simple enough to the point where it's something that we can actually do. So I want to try that out, try to see if I can make that precise encryption lock and put it onto the computer. Maybe make like a passcode operating system is significantly more complicated than multiplication, so we're probably not going to do anything like that, even if it's a simple operating system. So yeah, that's really going to be where we lie with that. I remember I really wanted to do a lot more stuff, but if the highest bar I can reach is multiplication, which is what it seems to be, then I just don't think there's going to be much more I can do with the 8-bit computer. So yeah. Anyway, so look for encryption. That's probably going to be coming out sometime soon. I'm of course going to need to trash the division and program, which is going to take a bit, and really unfortunate because I put a lot of time into making the division program. I decided against the floating point multiplication program really quickly. partially because you would need to do both multiplication and division to do it if you account for negative exponents. So yeah, there was just no way I could get both a multiplication and a division program into the same program and do all of the floating point operation math. So yeah, that just wasn't going to happen. Anyway, on to new Redstone. Really, really new, exciting Redstone. In the newest snapshot, there is a new observer block that has been announced. I am going to want to build something out of this porch at some point. I think I'm just going to leave this road like this, actually, right now. Anyway, observer block was just announced. First of all, I really get the impression like this is just a very general Redstone thing. The game developers really are biased towards and try to make stuff that is practical and survival, and not stuff that's really creative digital Redstone oriented like what I do. So it's unfortunate that the observer block, which, by the way, observer block, basically what it does is it detects block updates, and whenever a block update happens next to it, it will detect it, and it will send out a redstone signal. So I feel like it's going to be really designed towards that, and not towards the stuff that I like to do, which is unfortunate. But I do actually feel that this is not going to go without uses in Redstone. Whenever you get anything new, there's going to be some way that you can abuse it, like something in its shape that lets you just do something you wouldn't be able to do otherwise. And one of the things I was thinking about was actually back on the topic of memory and scaling it up. I think that if you used these, what's it called, they're like, oh, I just knew it, observer blocks. If you use an observer block, it might be able to, that could be a really, really fast and small read system for block update memory, because bud memory is one of the better forms of memory, especially in my opinion. I have the dual read bud memory that I used in the 8-bit computer, and that was really, really useful. So just being able to make that design a lot smaller is going to be really, really nice for a lot of people. I'm not sure how you're going to control the read on that, but if you can read that out, then it could be a little bit smaller than what we already have. There's also some, it also might be able to do something like be an instant repeater, and I'm not sure if this is going to be capable of instant wire or not yet. I haven't actually done that much messing around. I've just heard a bit about it, but in theory, if it does detect block updates in the way I think it does, it's going to be possible to make instant repeaters using it. If you just use something like a fence gate, then it's going to instantly react to that and send out the signal. So that would be actually really interesting, and again, it would be something that solves the scaling up redstone problem, which I keep coming to. But again, I'm not exactly sure. I haven't messed around with it, and there is no way that the game developers would let you get away with InstaWire. Like, it technically does exist in the game right now, but the way it works is so totally impractical that it's just a nightmare to make a computer out of. By the way, I'm coming into the mine because we are running out of andesite, and that is what we're paving our roads with, so it's something we want to have a lot of. Maybe I can get some more resources while we're down here. Like, I think that this entire cave system has been cleared of it, actually. And if it is, then I'm probably just going to go branch mining and find a bit. Anyway, so back on track. So Observer, I'm going to have to mess around with it before I really know what I think about it. But those are my thoughts on it at the moment. Let me know in the comments what you think about it too. There might also, I think there was also like a bug that DocM found that let you use it for an instant inverter, and that would be just insane if that actually happens. But I don't think it's gonna. There's no way they would let us get away with an instant inverter. That would just be a dream come true. But yeah, so again, leave a comment if there's anything you want to say on it. I'm totally open to any ideas because I have not done much research onto this yet, but it is something I'm aware of. Now let's get on to stuff that I'm actually really excited for right now, and that is Pokemon Sun and Pokemon Moon. This game's going to be really awesome compared to what we've seen throughout the past generations. I, of course, really got into competitive Pokemon in Gen 5, so even though, for whatever reason, a lot of people really don't like that gen, that's actually like my favorite gen. But Gen 6 was just, there's too few Pokemon, and too little changed. So, aside from like fairy types and dark types, there was very little change in the meta and the rain nerf. It was a lot like, at least in my opinion, it was a lot like the Gen 4 meta, with just rain being a slightly more viable strategy because Politoed exists, unlike in Gen 4. But now let's talk about Sun and Moon, because we have gotten a ton of information. I think we're over 50 Pokemon that have been revealed now, which is insane. That's like a third of a generation, if it's a normal-sized generation. That's like almost all of Gen 6. But some of the stuff that's come out is really cool, and I want to talk about it. But first of all, I really want to discuss the competitive scene. If I can just get around here, I want to get up there into that ravine. But I really want to start by talking about the tier I know the most about, which is Ubers. And usually in Ubers, the main change is going to be there's going to be 2 new legendary Pokemon. And legendary stats are just so good that usually they're automatically banned, they're automatically viable. There's only one time that that's ever not happened, and that was Kyurem Black, and Kyurem Black is still pretty good in OU. But let's talk about the new legendaries. Now, first of all, in the experiences I have seen where I'm watching a new gen come out and I see the legendaries, I have always underestimated them. Like, Zekrom and Reshiram, I thought they were going to be, like, not very good, especially when you consider, how many dragons like them there already were. But Zekrom's actually one of my favorite Pokemon as far as, like, or it's got a really interesting niche, I guess. Not necessarily that it's one of my favorite Pokemon, but it has a really cool niche in the Ubers metagame. Because it's a physical electric type, and that is, that has all sorts of really nice little applications that you can use it for. And then there's Reshiram. Now, of course, Reshiram is now completely outclassed by Kyurem White, but during its time, I had a really cool, team in late BW that had, actually, was it late BW or was it early XY? I think it was actually early XY. No, I feel like it was late BW, before BW2, because, actually, I think this is enough andesite. Let's start paving some more roads. But I think this was in late BW, before BW2. There was a team that I had that had, like, it was really cool. It had, like, 3 dragons, and it was basically just pummel your opponent with them. I feel like I had defensive Giratina, but the 2 I remember the most were Calmine Latios. Calmine Latios was a bad set. Carmine Latias, and Rusharam, and it was just this really cool team that I really liked to use. So Rusharam I like a lot, but originally I didn't think it would be worth much, and then Yveltal, originally I thought it was going to be like awful, but Xerneas I actually started using Geozern as soon as I heard about Geomancy. Not to boast, but I think I might have been one of the original people to come up with that set, but before I learned what Geomancy did, I thought it was going to be really bad. So when I say that I really feel like these 2 new legendaries are bad, note that in the past I have been very wrong about my predictions as to how good the 2 primary legendaries are going to be. Just because they have stats like that means that they're going to be viable and there's going to be some niche that they might fill. But I really feel like the Sun and Moon legendaries are really weak. And the reason that I think this is, first of all, well, let's start with Lunala. The thing that first strikes me about Lunala is it has an ability that's basically Lugia's multi-scale. Now, usually that would be really good, but its typing is just bad. What's it called? It's Psychic Ghost. In Ubers, if you can't switch into a Dark Pulse, it's whatever Pokemon you're using is not good. And the fact that you're just weak to Darkrai really makes it so that I feel like, sorry, not weak, 4x weak to Darkrai is going to make it really hard to be viable. And you might think, oh, it might be able to take one Darkrai's Dark Pulse using its multi-scale ability, which I think is called like Full Moon Shield or something like that. But as long as Ho-Oh is good, and I don't see any reason for it to stop being good this gen, it's going to, Stealth Rocks are just going to be absolutely necessary on every single team. And if you just take rocks once, boom, your Shadow Shield is gone, and you can't switch into... Well, you can't switch into Darkrai Dark Pulse in general, but now if Darkrai comes in, whenever you're sending in that Pokemon, you're just giving Darkrai a free switch, which is really bad. And then there is Solego. This one I actually think has a bit more potential because Psychic Steel is decent typing. We've seen it on Jirachi before. Now that Steel doesn't resist Dark anymore, maybe not so much, but it's still not bad typing. And especially in the Ubers meta right now, where it's so centralized around beating Geomancy Xerneas, and there's so many different steel types that are viable just because they can beat it, I think it's actually going to be decently good. But again, just because it's weak to Dark, which it's not as big a deal as Lunala's weakness to Dark is, but it's still really painful to deal with, and it's also weak to Ho-Oh. So I feel like it's just going to be just like any other steel type. Maybe its stats are a little bit better, maybe it's a little bit stronger than them, but I just don't see it being that particularly game-changing. And neither of them are going to be a sweeper like Zern, I don't think. Neither of them get any sort of move like Geomancy. So I really feel like they're not going to have that much of an impact on the meta. What I do think is going to impact the meta is whether or not Primal Groudon is going to return. So Primal Groudon is, it was pretty much the biggest deal for a Pokemon that came out of Oras, just because Primal Groudon it's, like, recently I heard it's hitting like 80% usage in Ubers, which doesn't surprise me at all, but that just shows you just how insanely good it is. Like, there's just no drawback to using it right now. It's just such a good stealth rocker, it beats Geomancy. There's just too many good things about it, and it's just really, really strong. meta's over-centralized in my opinion. No, everyone agrees the meta's over-centralized, but because it's Ubers, that's not as much of a big deal, partially because there's fewer Pokemon that are viable in Ubers than in other tiers because there's so few Pokemon that have stats that strong. But in Sun and Moon, we don't know if Primal Groudon is going to be returning. If the red orb is in the game, then we will know for a fact that Primal Groudon will be back. If it is not in the game, Primal Groudon will not be returning to the game, and that will be a huge, huge deal. Because Primal Groudon, like I said, so over-centralizing, the meta is going to just completely turn around if Groudon is not in it. So, again, we have heard nothing about whether or not Primal Groudon will come back, but depending on whether or not it does is probably also going to determine the viability of those two mons, because Solego is probably going to get a lot better if Primal Groudon isn't in the meta, because Primal Groudon is just so good against steel types. By the way, Primal Groudon Xerneas is just the best core ever. But, yeah, so that's enough rambling on the topic of, what's it called, Ubers. Again, really key stuff. I don't think Lunola is going to be that good. Solego is probably going to have a niche as just another steel type that has slightly better stats, and whether or not the Primal's return is going to be very, very key in what happens to the next meta. So the last thing, let's talk about lower tier stuff coming from ORAS now. First of all, Silvally, or however it's pronounced, the Pokemon that's basically Arceus, that thing's going to get banned in 2 seconds. Like, it's going to be Uber's viable, but Arceus is going to totally outclass it. But everyone who has never played Ubers is about to discover just how good the versatility of being able to change your type is. Because, like, in Ubers, there are, like, let's say there's about 2 sets that are viable for every single Arceus type. You see in Arceus in Team Preview, there are 30 different sets that you could prepare for. Maybe 5 of them are top threats in the entire metagame. You got your E-Killer, you got your Swords Dance Arceus Ground, you got your Calm Mind Dark Arceus. There's just so many really threatening mons, and you don't know which one of them it is. You don't know how to prepare for it best. And then, of course, about 10 of the sets are also top threats. So you have to decide between about 30 sets, or 35 sets actually, if which one your opponent's most likely to use, which one do you need to prepare for the most, and if you guess it wrong, you're in a lot of trouble, because if you let your counter to, say, Fairy Silveri die, and it's the one that your opponent happens to be running, you're just going to straight up lose. And yeah, so it's just, you're going to notice this thing is going to instantly be like top of the meta, and no one's going to know how to deal with it. It's going to get banned so fast. So now, next thing I'm really interested in, though, is Alolan Sandslash. Nintendo has finally succeeded at making a strong defensive ice type. Ice is just such a bad typing. It's pretty good offensively, which is why stuff like Weavile is even viable. But like, if Weavile or Mamoswine wasn't partially dark and dark or ground, then they would not be viable just because Ice is such horrible defensive typing. Alolan Sandslash is Ice Steel type, which isn't the best defensive typing, but it is just putting Steel on anything is going to make it pretty good defensive typing. But it's just going to be so strong as an Ice type in terms of its defensive ability. There's also some speculation that it might get an ability like Sand Rush that doubles its speed, inhale. If you read the Pokedex entries, it kind of hints at that. So that is certainly a possibility, and that would be really awesome. And it gets as its regular abilities Sand Veil and Sand Rush, and the potential ability that it has is it gets Snow Cloak as one of its abilities, so we're thinking as its hidden ability it might get like a Snow Rush or something like that. That would be pretty cool also, making it into much more of an offensive Mon. Gumshoes. Oh, this Pokemon's going to be so awesome. This generation in particular, we've seen just how good Pursuit trapping Mons can be. And Gumshoes is basically going to do that, only first of all it's going to be hitting with Choice Banded normal type returns. I cannot wait to use that on people. And if you switch into something, then you're going to get crushed. And just looking at this Mon, looking at how... First of all, it gets the ability Strong Draw. This thing's totally going to get crunch. Are you going to switch into your Ghost type and take a Choice Banded Stakeout boosted crunch? Or are you going to go into your Steel type? This thing gets superpower, you're totally dead. It's just going to... The Choice Banded set is just going to be so strong, because it's just going to be able to punish your opponent so hard for switching out. I think this thing's going to definitely be top tier OU. It's going to be really... I can't wait to use it. I've been saying that with everything, but Gumshoes is just going to be really strong just because that's going to hit so hard, and you're going to get punished so hard for switching out. And switching out is something that you absolutely need to do in order to honestly play the game. So Gumshoe is another really cool Mon. Ninetales. Alolan Ninetales is Ice Fairy type. That is awesome offensive typing. Aside from the fact that, what's it called? First of all, you're 4x weak to Scizor, so I really hope that, oh dear, I don't have any torches. So if, what's it called? If it keeps Flamethrower from its previous form, that's going to be really powerful because you can really punish the Scizors and the other Steel types for, what's it called, this Pokemon. But Fairy Ice is just so much that it's good against, that I really feel like this thing's going to be totally top tier, and in the next meta. It's going to be really fun, just totally kills dragons. Yeah. I really can't wait to use this Mon because it's just going to be such a powerful attacker. Powerful special attacker. We're talking like on par with something like, I don't know, Keldeo. Probably not going to be the best wall breaker, unfortunately, because it gets walled by Ferrothorn and Blissey. Unless, of course, it gets Flamethrower. But it's going to be really good if it gets Flamethrower. It's probably going to be a lower tier Mon, though, if it doesn't get Flamethrower. But I would assume it keeps Flamethrower. So, yeah, Alolan Ninetales, again, it's just such good offensive typing. I really can't wait to use it. And, yeah. So that's pretty much everything for that one. I've spent, 3 minutes talking about trying to wrap up Ninetales. Oricorio. This is going to be definitely not good in OU, but in lower tiers, it's going to be very good for punishing setup sweepers that use Swords Dance and Dragon Dance, because it's just... Oh dear, I need to restore my pickaxe, but it's just going to be really good because it can copy those boosts if you're Swords Dancing up alongside it. Sorry, if you're Dragon Dancing up, it'll get to boost its speed up alongside you. And then you can also customize its type, so there's going to be, whatever tier this is in is going to have 4 different Mons that you have to prepare for. Just the versatility of that and that ability to punish setup sweepers is really cool to me. And I don't play lower tiers that much, but it's just definitely going to be something cool. And then finally there is Wishy-Washy. I want to kind of end the video here because it's been going on for a long time, and Wishy-Washy is really the last mon I want to talk about. This one's something that's not been getting a lot of hype, but I ran some calcs based on some of the information from one of the trailers, and this thing hits like 460 special attack, which is insane. That's like at least sorry, I should say it hits at least 460 attack, at least base 160, which is completely insane. That is as high as Deoxys Defense's defense. In the movie, it was a lower level than a Magnezone, and it straight up took that Magnezone's discharge really, really easily. And just because of that, I really feel like Wishy-Washy is actually going to see a lot of usage. Sure, it turns into a really weak form as soon as you hit it with an attack, but just the fact that it has 106, it hits 460 special attack as a water type, that's higher than Palkia. It's going to be just really, really, really good at just being a strong offensive water type, and I'm really excited about that because I like my water types. But yeah, so that's just going to be everything I really wanted to talk about. I hope you guys have enjoyed, and I'll see you guys next time. We've come a long way with these roads, so yeah, I'll see you guys then.